Well, with that, Vince, are you ready for rapid fire?
Yeah, I'm ready. I wasn't ready, but now I am.
We're going a little bit quicker tonight because we've all got some things going on later this evening. So Dave Portnoy from Barstool Sports bet $10,000 on Sam Hartman to win the Heisman Trophy at plus 2,000 odds. He said the value was just too good to pass up. What's the most you would wager on Hartman at this point?
I've been thinking about this one for a while. Obviously, it's not $10,000. Dave Portnoy has a lot of extraneous income.
Jesse mentioned this last night, and it must be nice to have the FU money that Dave Portnoy has.
Yes, bingo. It's exactly right. I'd put like a 10 spot, something along those lines. I'm terrible at like odds, but I don't know what $10 would win me. But at plus 2,000, it's going to win me some decent coin. I put a 10 spot on it. Why not?
I got bold last night, and I was I was like emboldened by Dave Portnoy. I'm going to pull my bet up here, and I got off the air and I started playing around. I went on FanDuel, and Portnoy made his bet on the Barstool app, of course, because he owns Barstool. But I've got the FanDuel. But so where is it? So I just made my bet. This is and I don't usually this is one of the bigger bets for me. $50.
Oh,
$50, but I got plus 2,200 odds. So I got even a little bit better odds than Portnoy. So if Sam Hartman wins the Heisman, my 50 will win me $1,150.
Hey. Go Sam.
And I already had a $10 bet on Hartman that I got at plus 3,000 odds. I placed this one all the way back last December. Or no. I'm sorry. This was not last December. That's when the ticket is due, because that's when I placed this in January.
Okay.
$10 will win me 310. So I've got two on him right now.
So you win
about $50. That's about my limit. That's about my limit. And again, the only reason I went that high was just because of what Portnoy said. The value at plus 2,200 and where he is right now, if things go well next week, those odds are going to come way down.
Oh,
and
yeah.
So you're going to have to bet a lot more to make any money off the thing. So I figured, what the heck? Because I won a few of my bets last week. I'm like, I'm playing with a little bit of house money. I'll throw the 50 at it and see what happens. If things go well, we're all happy in the end.
You want to hear something funny?
Sure.
So Notre Dame is, I'm not sure, plus 2,500 to win the national championship. And apparently I was 2,500 to win the national championship. Okay. On January 13th, I'm guessing that's right around the time Sam Hartman said he was going to come to Notre Dame, I placed a $20 bet. Okay. 5 months later, apparently I forgot that I placed said bet.
Did you cash it out?
On May 30th, I placed another $20 bet that they would win the national championship. So I have two $20 bets.
You've got multiple bets.
Yes.
It's funny because I think I placed a couple. I just logged out, so I'm not going to log back in. But I did I think I did the same thing. It was like I placed a couple, identical bets, and I'm like, I started scrolling. I'm like, I did that twice. What am I doing here?
I don't know what I was thinking, but apparently I forgot that I did it. And hey, if Notre Dame wins the national championship, I will win $1,040.
Nice.
So
very nice.
Go Irish.
All right.
So there we go.
So $20 is your limit, is what you're saying?
Yeah, I don't think I've ever bet more than $20 on anything, and it has to be really, really good odds. You know what I mean? Like I have to be winning a lot. But my general bet is about 5 to 10. Like that's where I'm at.
Sure.
That's where I'm at. I'm a teacher, people.
Okay, Vince. Here's my question for you: do you buy or sell? There is nothing anyone on TV can say about Notre Dame that will satisfy you?
I feel like this is pointed right at me for some reason.
Well, we got in this conversation earlier this week, the whole Lee Corso thing on Monday.
Yeah.
Remember when Lee Corso was saying Sam Hartman's going to be, and you turned it into, ESPN, they hate everybody, or they hate Notre Dame, that nobody ever says anything good, and that whole thing.
I have heard in the past people on TV say good things about Notre Dame, obviously, and they don't have a choice if they're undefeated and, things of that nature. So I'll sell it just because there is something that they can say that's positive. It'll never be enough. It'll never be enough.
See, this is my point. This is my point. Like, again, like we went down this road, and I actually heard some of your post-game show the other night where you're bitching about like they're putting Sam Hartman's picture up, from when he was a freshman, and all this. It's like, come on, Vince. This is the most innocuous stuff they can put up. It's like they show the side by side. Here he was 6 years ago. Here he is as a senior with the beard. And here's Vince complaining about it. It's never.
I don't remember what I said, but I'm sure it was accurate. Whatever I said was accurate.
Of course it was.
It was accurate.
But
it was like a father-son shoot. It was like, there's the father, there's the son.
Right. And this whole conversation that we had on Monday, and this is the first time you've been back since Monday. This whole thing, it led to one of our listeners/subscribers going on the boards, and he starts this thread defending Vince's honor in this whole thing. And he's like, well, Sean's a Dallas Cowboys fan. And apparently, Sean just sees the Dallas Cowboys. He's so used to the Dallas Cowboys. They're talking about the Cowboys all the time on TV, as if that's some kind of defense. Because one, in the eyes of TV, radio, newspapers, internet clicks, and all that kind of stuff, Notre Dame, the Dallas Cowboys, the Los Angeles Lakers, the New York Yankees are all the same. Like, you do or say anything about them, you're going to get eyeballs on you, and
no doubt about it.
And again, like, to what your defender is talking about, like acting like everything, just because the Dallas Cowboys are being talked about doesn't mean like everything is good that they're being talked about. Like, the whole talking point this whole offseason was, Dak Prescott led the NFL in interceptions. Is he any good? Like, can Dak Prescott still win? And this kind of stuff. And, like 2 or 3 years ago, it was all about Dak's contract. So now it's about his turnovers. Here's a fun fact that I just found out. I didn't know this until earlier this week. Josh Allen threw 3 interceptions against the Jets Monday night. And after that, I found out, did you know, over the last 5 years, Josh Allen has the most turnovers of anyone in the NFL?
For this year? Or ever?
Over the last 5 years.
Oh, okay. I missed that part. Okay.
Last 5 years.
Interesting.
Yeah.
He scores a lot, though, too.
But you don't care because he plays for the Buffalo Bills.
That's fair.
If he played for Notre Dame and he's turning the ball over like that, if he plays for the Dallas Cowboys, obviously, it's a much bigger deal, is my point.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. That's a very good point.
Now, again, I know, I don't know if it's even worth it for me to play this, because
what do you got for me?
It's probably going to fall on deaf ears. So I've got a piece of audio that I'm going to play.
All right.
This is like this whole concept of like, the media, ESPN hates my team. Joe Buck hates my team. Whoever hates my team. Do you know who Ryan Russillo is?
I do.
Okay.
Used to listen to his show all the time.
He used to work at ESPN.
Yep.
He was on TV and radio at ESPN. He's at The Ringer now, and he hosts the Ryan Russillo podcast there.
Okay.
And so this audio is from the Press Box podcast. It's a conversation that he had with Brian Curtis. Brian was on with me in July, if you remember him, guest on our show.
I do.
So they started talking about fans who think their teams are being slighted. And I thought that this was really interesting. So take a listen to this.
Of thoughts and just absurd theories about like why a team is here or why game day showed up for this weekend. And, look, I was on the radio side of game day. So, it was constant. And then you start realizing like, wait, everybody actually kind of feels the same. Like you think you're being treated differently, but so do like 30 other college campuses. So is it us or is it maybe you individually feeling the same way collectively, but you just don't even realize? So I think sometimes we can become a little difficult because we're only paying attention to the slights that impact something that we have some connection to. And, there's all these times. I remember Florida State Twitter was like out of their minds with this conspiracy that it was like, oh, ESPN's against us and all this stuff and whatever. They're going to make sure we're not in this and whatever. And like all these predictions about how ESPN was going to screw over Florida State. It didn't happen. They'd won the title the year before. The polls kept them up because of that. They were actually getting the benefit of the doubt. They were winning these close games. It was really weird. You're like, what's up with this team? They're not the same. Winston was still there. And then they played Oregon in the Rose Bowl and they got smoked. And it was like, yeah, like you were held to a standard as a title defender and yet you still made the playoff. And like at the time, it was an online thing. It would say, oh, look at how the Sports Center anchor says that Iowa doubled up Michigan State 28-14, but Florida State only survived, Florida State barely survived against Louisville 28-14. And you're like, this wouldn't even go to trial, man. So I always feel like this filter of all of it when you were doing national radio, like this filter of all of it, where it's like, oh, this group's the one that feels like they're the one being left out. And it's like, no, it's actually it's a rotating thing of feeling like you're being diminished. Like, yeah, guess what? Everybody talks about the Cowboys and Lakers too much. I'm sorry. I remember I was at a wedding and it was in Chicago and it was a bunch of Ohio State guys and they were convinced 7-8 deep. They've been drinking. And they come up to me at the reception and they're like, Herb Street, man, he hates Ohio State. And I was like, I don't think he hates Ohio State. And I'm sitting there going, well, give me your arguments for why he hates Ohio State. And they were like, they were the worst arguments ever. Oh, he did this. And then you guys went to Penn State for game day for this. And it's just on and on and on, like all these bullshit things. I was like, you realize like everything you think is happening to you happens to all of these other fan bases, but the only ones you pay attention are the ones that you're emotionally connected to. So you're not a great frame of reference. You're so biased. The bias you think you're arguing against is the one you're actually extremely guilty of.
I loved watching Vince's face during that whole thing.
What you're talking about. His face was 100% normal during that whole thing because what he said is 1,000% accurate. I am well aware of my
You're aware of your biases.
Oh my gosh, absolutely.
This is the first time I've ever heard you admit them.
I own it.
You're aware of your biases. You just wear them on your sleeve.
You're darn right. I got nothing to hide, people. I have nothing to hide.
All right. Okay? It's out in the open now.
Whatever's here, it's coming out here.
That's right.
There's no doubt.
And that's why it's funny because like we've talked before, and again, like hearing you like talk about some of the things that you see in the broadcast, it's like the hot dog story. Everyone started talking about the hot dog story, and I'm like, when did the hot dogs come up? I didn't hear this. Like everything that the announcers are saying, like maybe like Spider 2 Y banana or whatever. I remember that, and like I know Ryan, that grinded his gears, but like. So many things that were said that just like fly past me in the course of a broadcast because it just doesn't stick because I'm like watching the game, because like obviously if you're a casual fan, you probably need the announcers a little more and they're talking to a national audience and all that kind of stuff. They obviously serve their purpose. And like I actually felt like McDonough and Greg McElroy did a pretty good job calling the game. Myself, like
I didn't have an issue with it.
That looked like, I don't know about that, but
no, they were fine. Yeah, they were fine.
But I'm just saying, like most of the stuff just flies by me. Like I don't even hear most of it anymore. It seems like, and that's coming from a guy who's a play-by-play announcer myself.
That's true.
Obviously. But,
well, you let the crap filter through. You don't.
I guess
you don't pay attention to that part. You listen to the nuts and bolts of the play-by-play stuff and what they're talking about. That's where you are.
Right. You know what I actually do miss though? I realized there was so much shtick to it but the Mark May, Lou Holtz days of
Oh,
ESPN,
that was glorious.
It was a lot more fun. It seemed like back then.
Yes,
You know,
because at the end of the day, you knew that it was a shtick, right? But was there anybody, if you were a Notre Dame fan, was there anybody that you loved to hate more than Mark May? And he ate it up. He leaned into it, man. Like, I don't think that's what they originally were intending to do, but man, did they lean into that shtick.
I know.
And it was great.
See, this is my point here. Like just one ND gal says, Herb Street is embarrassingly in the bag for the Ohio State University. The man lived in Columbus, Ohio, and because Ohio State fans were coming at him all the time because they thought that he was anti his own school, he picked up his family and he moved to Nashville.
Yeah.
But yet there are still people who believe that, well, Herb Street went to Ohio State. He's totally in the bag for Ohio State. I don't buy it.
It's all based on your perspective, man. And
And I've never watched a game as a neutral, like not a fan of either team and sat there and gone, oh, he's biased. He's totally biased for this team or against this team or what. Like you don't hear it at all when you're watching, when your team is not involved. I would challenge anyone to say, well, I was watching this game and these guys were definitely for
if it's a national broadcast, like as long as it's not like the regional broadcast and
local
things like
radio
that.
Or whatever.
Like that's obviously the exception to the rule of what you're challenging people to do. But yeah, no, I'm with you. I've never thought like Joe Buck, for example, is one way or the other for a baseball team during the playoffs. Like I've never thought that ever. But for some reason people don't like Joe Buck. You know what I mean? It's
what's funny is like Joe Buck would get that all the time when he was doing baseball, but like football fans, you never really heard that from. No. It's more Aikman, and again, Aikman, he's got the Dallas Cowboys affiliation, but guess who also thinks that he's too hard on the Cowboys?
Cowboys fans.
Yeah, he hears it from Cowboys fans, Eagles fans, Giants. He hears it from both sides. All the time. Like if you ever listen to any interviews.
And there's no chance, there's zero chance that two-time Cowboys Super Bowl champion Troy Aikman is going to be able to make both sides of the aisle of football lovers happy. There's nothing he can do. There's literally nothing he can do.
Again, Michael says Herb Street picked NC State on ESPN Game Day last week. Nobody else beat Notre Dame. Solo act loud and clear. So just because he had an opinion on the game, he had his own opinion on the game. That makes him biased.
Okay. Like people really ate that up. Like
I know
they ate it up. I don't know how many screenshots of the picks that I saw on X, after the game. And they're like, "We're coming for you, Kirk." Yeah, it's like, whoa, he made a pick on game day.
Right.
It is not that big of a deal.
As I've said before here, like if we have to make the picks, what good does it do to make the pick if we're just going to rubber stamp one team or the other? So everybody else picked him, so he's just supposed to go along because everybody else picked him?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's ridiculous. Yeah. Like, it's okay. He's doing it for his job. Whether he thought Notre Dame would win or lose is one thing, but maybe he was trying to catch up in the overall season thing and like, well, everybody's going Notre Dame. I'm going to go out on a limb and go the other way. Like, I guarantee you he didn't think that much into it. Guaranteed.
Here's Brent. Joe Buck was extremely biased versus the San Francisco Giants, 3 World Series championships. And, of course, he's from California, just a little bit south of the Bay Area there. Well, as a Kansas City Royals fan, Brent, they beat the Royals in the 2014 World Series. And I can tell you that every one of my Royals, or most of my Royals fan friends, thought that he was anti-Kansas City. And that's usually the way it works out. It's like, especially, I think it's especially for baseball because NFL, we are used to watching games on a national TV broadcast, TV network every week. But with baseball, we watch our local broadcasters.
Sure.
And we're used to a very pro our team baseball broadcast.
And it is too.
And it happens the same in the NBA, I think, as well. pro it's like your team, your announcers the entire season. Then it gets to the playoffs and you've got to watch national guys and they're trying to follow these storylines.
Sure.
And again, you read into everything that they say one way or the other, and you take that as some kind of bias against your team based on the way you're perceiving
it. Right. Well, and somebody in the chat said that he was so pro the Cubs in 2016. And you know what? He was probably pro the storyline, to be honest with you, because
Cubs fans thought he was pro Indians. Remember?
There you go. No, I don't.
I remember that whole conversation going on right after that World Series. Fans on both sides, again, they all it's a matter of which team you're from and really how the games are going.
Sure.
The whole thing. Like if he gets excited for a big call that happens to be against your team. Oh, he loves the Giants or whatever.
We're not excited enough.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's a lose-lose situation, frankly. And I thought he did a great job because I didn't care what the announcers were saying. I just wanted my team to win.
Right.
Period.
Exactly. All right. Speaking of Joe Buck, fill in the blank. It's blank that when Buck and Troy Aikman finished this season together, this is their 22nd season, they're going to pass Pat Summerall and John Madden as the longest tenured NFL broadcasting duo.
Mind-blowing on a lot of different levels, okay? Number one, I had no idea that Aikman was doing this gig that long. Like, that part all by itself is mind-blowing, right? So that's part of it. And the next part is, I guess I grew up, obviously, with Madden and Summerall. Like, that's how I feel watching NFL football. I grew up with those two guys as the preeminent duo calling games. And so to think that these guys have done it longer is just, it doesn't compute. It doesn't compute in my head because when I think about NFL football and growing up and learning the game and all that, it was Madden and Summerall. Like, those were the guys. And it just doesn't feel like those other guys have been doing it as long. Although, I think they do a fantastic job. I think they do a great job as a duo. No doubt about it. It just doesn't feel like it's been that long.
To me, they're definitely the number one duo on TV right now, probably in any sport. Like, that Monday night, the feel of Monday night is so much different now than it's been really probably for almost the same amount of time, 20 years or so, however long it's been, basically. Maybe it hasn't been quite 20 years since Al Michaels and John Madden were there, but it's a lot different, and you're absolutely right. Obviously, me being a little bit older than you, there were other broadcasters before Summerall and Madden, but really that Summerall Madden booth it's arguably the most iconic of all time. And to think that Aikman and Buck have been together, because like you said, like my whole perception of time is totally skewed. Like anytime I hear like however many years have passed or whatever, I have to sit back and think because like this whole really the last 23 years since I moved here to start, covering and, working, around Notre Dame, it's like everything just seems like it's kind of this one ball, but then time expands back another, what I'm saying? Like my concept of time is just so much different. And you're absolutely right. Like, to think of the fact that Aikman has even been doing this for as long as he has, because he did it for a year or two, I think, before he ended up with Buck as well. Okay. So like he's going on 25 years or something like that in the booth, 22 with Joe Buck. So that's
crazy.
It really is crazy. And this might end up, like I said, we all think of Summerall and Madden as the standard, and this has kind of become the standard itself. It's pretty cool to think about, and it's just kind of blown by us as it's happened over the last 22 years.
Well, it's funny that you say it that way because how your life and how you remember certain things and whatever. There's like childhood, there's like teenage years into college,
right?
Then there's like, okay, you got married and pre kids,
and all of a sudden,
and then there's like
all the same.
Then there's like a black hole of time. You know what I mean? Like there was a very large gap of time where like I never went to the movies. Like I never, I just didn't do anything. You know what I mean? And it's and then it all just like you said, it's just all bundled together, and it's very time is just a weird weird constraint on your life and the way you remember things.
TD4ND asked who's calling the game on Peacock Saturday. It will be your boys, Jack Collinsworth and Jason Garrett.
They're back.
They will be. Our old friend El Conquistador, or our new friend El Conquistador, whoever this guy is. The only thing more boring than Joe Buck is talking about Joe Buck. Okay.
Well, it's okay. You'll get over it.
Fox Sports is in negotiations, Vince, with several Power 5 conferences to hold a postseason men's basketball tournament in Las Vegas. It would feature teams that don't qualify for the NCAA tournament. Their current vision is a 16-team tournament with teams from the Big 12, Big East, Big 10 that don't qualify. They would play it the last week of March after the NCAA tournament plays its Elite 8 games. So I guess it would take place that entire week, like between the Elite 8 and up to the Final Four. There would be NIL opportunities, I guess, tied to this for players as well. Do you buy or sell the idea?
Huge buy. I love it. I think
really
the NIT right now is an afterthought, and I think if they can get this going, yet another option for us to bet on, frankly, and yet another.
I think that's why they've come up with this idea. Honestly, more betting. I think the NIL thing makes it interesting. I honestly think that the NCAA, I'm going to say this, and, it's like the answer is going to be obvious. The NCAA needs to be more forward-thinking with NIL because, like, now they include, like the players get little gifts, like a gift bag or whatever for going to whatever tournament and stuff like that. It's like, okay. But I think that they need to be more forward-thinking when it comes to attaching some NIL stuff, considering this is the biggest moneymaker the NCAA has, the men's and women's basketball NCAA tournaments. It's literally $1 billion, multi-billion dollar franchise. And I'm not sure how interested I would be in a tournament that features 16 teams that did not make the tournament, but again, they are at least making them from Power 5 conferences, and they're having it in Vegas. And the whole idea is obviously going to be to fill that void between the Elite 8 and the Final Four with some more games that'll get people interested in gambling. So why not? It's a TV show. It's a gambling product. Why not?
Yeah. I mean, again, the basketball might not be high level because they keep expanding the NCAA tournament in the first place, which is frustrating anyway. But at that point in the year, who wouldn't want more tournament basketball? Like, bring it on. They don't publicize the NIT very well anymore. You know what I mean? It's not real. It's not must-see TV by any stretch of the imagination. And so if they do this thing right and they get some eyeballs on the product, it could be a lot of fun. It's in Vegas,
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the NIT might want to consider just moving their tournament to Vegas and drawing some actual interest in it,
And I do think the NIT loses some of its whatever because they do it on campus to start off with. You know what I mean? Like, and I know that it's another game that you can watch, at home and whatever, but I just feel like all the games in Vegas makes it more like a tournament. It makes it more of an event, more of must-see TV. So I don't know. I'm all for it. Let's give it a shot.
Okay. All right. So did you see what Baker Mayfield had to say about his, there was some sign stealing going on against the Vikings in Tampa's win over the Vikings. He was asked about it, and he said, "I'm a Texas Rangers fan, not a Houston Astros fan." Rate that response, scale of 1 to 10.
I give it like an 8. It's well thought out. I mean, he obviously knew he was going to be asked about it, and he came up with a good answer. I give him a lot of credit for that. When it comes to the sign stealing itself, I have zero problem with it.
No problem.
That's called gamesmanship, man.
You're trying to win or not. That's
right.
You're
not supposed to tell your teammates if you know what play is going to be coming.
Yeah, I saw some players this week trying to downplay it and all this different stuff, like, oh, defensive signals aren't that, complicated and everything. Well, great. Well, apparently he thought that it would benefit him and it did him some good, So I give it a 9. Like either he knew it was coming or it was just very spur of the moment.
Yeah.
And if it was spur of the moment, I'd give it a perfect.
I get more
10.
credit. I'd up it. Yeah, I would.
That's exactly right. I mean, I thought it was perfect. I'm a Texas Rangers fan, not a Houston Astros fan. And hey,
nailed it.
I was watching some of that game, and I kept thinking, how are the Tampa Bay Buccaneers beating the Minnesota Vikings? Baker Mayfield, Mike Evans, and a million other guys nobody's ever heard of. And then Kirk Cousins, best receiver in the league. Tampa Bay ends up winning. I guess it was all because Baker was stealing the signs. I don't know.
Apparently.
Fill in the blank. It's blank that the Powerball winner from California who won $2 billion, billion with a B, has bought a $47 million mansion in Los Angeles.
Good for him. Like, that's awesome. I mean, realistically, what are you going to do with $2 billion? And I realize they don't get all of it. Let's say he got $1 billion. Okay. Let's just say after taxes, he gets $1 billion. 47 million, last time I checked, is a little under 5% of that. So I'd say that's pretty good buying.
But it's not a one-time fee either. As you know, as a homeowner, there's taxes that have to be paid, and taxes on a $47 million home.
It's going to be high.
I don't know if this guy's delivering pizzas or, I don't know what he's doing for a living, but like that's a lot of money to pay in taxes alone on a $47 million home. I saw some people saying, well, real estate's a good investment. And apparently he's bought some other homes. It's like, great. Okay. But there's also no guarantee that 47 million is going to appreciate. There's always the chance that something like that very few people can afford will depreciate as well. Like you see these celebrities trying to sell their homes out there, and they always have a heck of a time doing it. I guess if he's sitting on $2 billion, it's, that's obviously a lot more than even someone who won $1 million in a lottery. But like the first thing I thought when I saw this guy just dropped 47 million on a mansion is like, this guy is gonna he's gonna
go through
his money in about 10 years, because that's what ends up happening with most of these lottery winners.
No. That's definitely possible. I just feel like if he got half, it's $1 billion. So like, let's say I'm worth $100,000. That means I just spent $5,000 on something.
True.
It's not that much.
Percentage-wise.
You know what I mean? Much. But you're absolutely right. It adds up. I mean, it adds up.
I thought that was me at first.
Yeah, it was me. I think my son's done with practice.
All right. Well, I think that is about it for tonight. We've got, of course, one more show. Brian's got his show on Friday. I think his schedule has been a little bit off this week because of, of his travels and stuff going on. But we've got IB Countdown to Kickoff, and the YouTube will drop tomorrow night, Friday night, and of course the podcast will drop Saturday morning. Vince's son is calling, so we're going to wrap this up, and we will talk to you later. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the game, Notre Dame, Central Michigan. And again, don't forget, it is Peacock only, so you've got to get that Peacock app if you don't already have it. Hit the like button on your way out, and of course, subscribe, rate, and review, and we will talk to you Monday on IB Nation Sports Talk.